All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to RickCast on a beautiful Monday, the 19th of May, 2025. I hope everybody had a glorious weekend. That's right. I said glorious, and I hope it was for you. And we have, man, a lot of stuff happened this weekend. Usually Mondays are good because you have a lot to talk about, 2 days worth, because I don't work, I don't work weekends on this kind of stuff. I don't cover this stuff. So that way weekends come, a lot of stuff to talk about. Boy, oh boy, it was kind of decent. Saturday into Sunday. Sunday, obviously, we were going to focus on the inauguration mass for Pope Leo XIV and some of the comments that he made. We'll talk about it. I'll introduce that right now. The mass was beautiful. He received his fisherman ring. All of these amazing things happened. His homily was beautiful. It didn't mention any controversial issues. But then in a private meeting, he mentioned the word synodality, or the synod, which is something Francis started, which we'll talk about. But essentially, it's I don't want to say it's the first flub that Pope Leo XIV has had. But it is interesting to see how triggered some people are. Some people with Francis derangement syndrome, that they just lost it. They just threw out the baby with the bathwater and everything. Oh, that's it. That's it. It's over. They turned into Bill Paxton from Aliens. Game over, man. That's it. I hope you had a nice run. It's going to be awful. And we'll talk about how that's not really the case. And I guess my job to Pope-splain for Pope Leo XIV will continue, and I will do it bravely and proudly, with your help, of course. But we'll talk about that. Joe Biden has cancer, which this diagnosis was released one day before Jake Tappa, his book, was dropped about the dementia that we all knew he had. And the reaction to Joe Biden's cancer has been interesting to watch. The left is using this as a way to wipe all the negativity that has been associated with Joe Biden for the disastrous 4 years that they forced him into. And the right is out for blood. And let's be completely honest with this. The right is out for blood on this one. And I understand. And I understand this this mentality because of the way the Joe Biden administration treated J6ers, the way they treated the pandemic, all of these things. I get it. I personally wouldn't take the same approach, but that doesn't mean I'm correct and you're not. But we'll talk about that in a moment. Another Ukrainian ceasefire. Another one. Maybe the Vatican will step in. Trump has floated the Vatican as the meeting place between Russia and Ukraine. We'll look at that. And then finally, Darth Vader has dropped into the video game Fortnite, and it's AI. It's not a pre-recorded like 20,000 words. No, it's an AI chatbot. And the acting industry is not reacting well to it, as they shouldn't, but is yet another death nail for Hollywood. So, and I got a bunch of hot takes to get to, things that are not segment worthy. Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. But I got at least 4 different things to talk about as far as I guess we'll just call them hot takes again, because I don't really have anything else for them. But if you like what we're doing here on RickCast, like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell, and we will continue to talk to you guys and make the show all about you. I am just the conduit to said stories and introductions as the bar rats make their way into the comment section across Rumble and Getter and YouTube and X. So good to see you all here. Let's start with one that I thought we were going to spend a lot more time on. And it takes place in New York. And you may have seen this floating around on the interwebs on Saturday. The Mexican Navy, their training ship was in Brooklyn for whatever reason, and it ended up colliding with the Brooklyn Bridge, which was hello Lou, great to see you. Interesting to watch, as you will hear. People actually died, but people were just kind of like, what happened? This thing just kind of continued to just go back and go back and go back. And then it eventually just now, all these white dots here, these are sailors. That's why we're not going to watch it past this moment, because you see guys fall off this thing and 2 men died. Now, the collision occurred after the vessel experienced a mechanical failure that caused it to lose power while departing from the Manhattan Pier. And it was not supposed to be heading towards the bridge, obviously. The 290-foot Kanatumak, sorry if I mispronounced that, on a global goodwill and training voyage with 277 people aboard, had all 3 of its masts snapped when it struck the bridge span. Eyewitnesses report sailors dangling from harnesses for at least 15 minutes, and at least 19 people required medical treatment. It was very interesting to watch. It's sad to report that 2 sailors were killed. It's just very interesting. Of course, on Saturday, it's like, what happened? Oh, it's because of the immigrants. It's like, no, this is the Mexican Navy. This is not anything to do with Americans. Now, of course, there are different procedures for how you were to leave port in Europe versus the United States. Europe uses different tugboats than we do. But if this thing lost power and it was just the big thing with the tugboats, because you'll see tugboats in different videos on this. Why didn't the tugboats pull the Mexican ship? Because they don't do that here in the US. And in Europe, they pull them. They'll lock to the front of the front of the ship, and they'll just kind of help it escort and pull them out. Roughly, this is, if I'm wrong, let me know in the comment section. While in America, we kind of push and pull with ours. Plus, the sailboat was not very. You couldn't really pull this one because it had a large wood mast, for lack of a better term, on the front of it. So it's a sad event. Like I said, I thought we were going to spend a lot more time talking on this, but we kind of got dwarfed by everything else. But as of right now, I believe it's still sitting in New York. Can't really go anywhere because all of its masts have been completely and utterly destroyed. It's pretty. I mean, it has engines, obviously, but the engines must have failed in order for this thing to kind of just drift down with the current into the actual bridge. But pray for the repose of the souls of the two men on the top. Most had to be one of these guys up here. One of these guys up in this area on the very, very top, because they're all standing there as like sailors do that, do a parade rest when they come in. It's a big show, something you'd like to see. It's a very formal presentation. But it's sad occurrence nevertheless. So that's our first hot take here on RickCast. Second one, let's go to this. We've been covering it. We're talking about a spicy summer, and the battle lines are being continuously drawn, and it's happening even more. I don't know if you even heard of this story. If you didn't, you'll be hearing about it right now.
Firefighters now combing through the massive debris field right now. This is a live look from Air 7 of that fertility clinic, and you can see there is extensive damage to this building. We believe the car was parked on the left side of your screen in the parking lot, but the force of it sent part of that building out into the street. That is actually Palm Canyon Drive on that side of the road. So this is the American Reproductive Centers. It happened about 11 o'clock today. It is on Indian Canyon Drive. That's the side of the parking lot, but I believe the road on the right side is Palm Canyon Drive. That's the road that takes you directly into downtown Palm Springs, and we see the remains of what looks like a truck. You can see the front axle there on the right, and it looks like a box truck back towards the left, unless that's a car that was planted up against the side of a dumpster or a truck. But there, it looks like the vehicle that was involved here, at least one of them, parked in the parking lot, hitting this fertility clinic, which again is right across the street from Desert Regional Medical Center. You can see right there over the doorway, American Reproductive Center, ARC. We have heard from those who are running this clinic who say all of the eggs, embryos, everything that the fertile stores that they have in their building was okay and saved. We do believe one person was killed in this, as we see some law enforcement tech going through that is just looks like a small vehicle, a car that they are now looking through to see exactly how this played out. We know the FBI is investigating this. The governor is aware of the situation happening in Palm Springs. He says his office is monitoring the situation and will continue to. A law enforcement source telling ABC News they believe that the suspect in this case was killed. We also believe 5 other people were hurt in this explosion, and there across the street is the hospital. And you can see the force of this shattering windows at nearby businesses. And this is the hospital. This is Desert Regional. And on a second floor on the back of a long outdoor second multi-story patio, those windows were shattered as well. People all around Palm Springs said they could feel the concussion, the wave. They could hear this blast and feel it in the ground. That source telling ABC News there's also an active search right now to see if there are any other explosive devices planted around this scene or around the city of Palm Springs. Once that search is completed, investigators say then we will learn more about exactly what happened.
So, guys, this is a fertility clinic This is an attack on the pro-life movement. I know that this is not something people want to say, but this is exactly what it is. It is an attack on the pro-life movement. Yep. So that's very correct, Michael. That's very, very correct. It was an attack on life. And of course, this is in response to leftist rhetoric about women's rights being taken away and forced births and the handmaid tale and all these nonsensical things that the left has no idea but to just ratchet up fear. So from the Colorado Politics page, the suspect behind the explosion at the Palm Springs, California fertility clinic, Guy Edward Bartkus, died as a result of the attack. Law enforcement officials said Bartkus made a series of posts on social media, including a 30-minute audio recording supporting his anti-natalist views, the belief that nobody should have children. That's not just that's also a climate change belief. Shouldn't have children because the climate's going to be bad and all these other kinds of things. And I don't have the video. I thought I should have. I just thought of it. But Hillary Clinton this weekend, right? She's still alive. That demon. She's coming out and saying, oh, well, Americans shouldn't have children. That's what the immigrants are for, essentially. So it's all of these things. Authorities believe Bartkus tried to live stream the attack, and they're looking for the manifesto that, they apparently all have. His father, Richard Bartkus, told Nicholas Notius Telemundo on Monday that his son had a good heart and that he believes he was brainwashed, noting the last time they spoke was a decade ago. Well, no offense, sir. I don't mean to be a jerk, although most people in this space think I am. Yeah. But if you haven't spoken to your son in a decade, how do you know he has a good heart? Maybe your son, when you knew him, had a good heart. But unfortunately, he obviously doesn't, because he actively tried to kill people. He actively tried to harm people. And that's not somebody with a good heart. That's what they do. The suspect might also be linked to a post in an online forum earlier this month in which the person contemplated unaliving themselves by using explosive force. This is an act of terrorism because it's used to it's a politically violent motive. Oh, they found his body a block away. Yeah, well, that must have been one heck of a concussion blast. Make no mistake, this is an intentional act of terrorism. Akil Davis, the head of the FBI's Los Angeles field office, said in the Saturday news conference, as our investigation will unfold, we'll determine if it's an international or domestic. Dr. Meyer Abadia, who leads the clinic, told the Associated Press the clinic's vitro fertilization lab and stored embryos were not damaged, which is a good thing. But, in vitro fertilization is actually not a good thing. So that's, I'm going to be that guy in that case. And the reason why I say that, and the reason why we're talking about that, is because something else happened over the weekend that nobody besides myself and Steve Cunningham will speak about. And that was something that was dropped earlier this weekend. Something that was put out quietly. So that's why all of the Catholic influencers will maybe not say anything. But the fact of the matter is, this is a terrible, terrible thing. And why can't I find it right now? Because when I had time, I could find all of these things. But come on, where is it, dude? What? Gotta be kidding me. Actually, this is the problem with too many people in around. There it is. Nope, it isn't. Yeah, there it is. Nope, that's not it. Come on. So Donald Trump, not Donald Trump, but the Trump administration is prepping IVF to go full bore, like 100%. Here it is, 100% full bore. Now I found it. Now I'm starting to talk about it. And the reason why these two stories are connected is this was an IVF facility, right? It was an IVF facility. These things are going to more. This is Caroline Kitchener, not Kitchener, Kitchener. So IVF is going to be declared an essential health benefit, an essential health benefit, and extend coverage to nearly 50 million Americans insured through the Affordable Care Act. Remember the thing that Republicans are supposed to get rid of. Push Congress to pass a law requiring private insurance companies to cover IVF procedures for any person struggling with infertility. Why are we the party of life, and in vitro fertilization is not it's not a life-giving thing. My hottest take is that in vitro fertilization is designed to make the human race an asexual society, but I don't think we have enough time on this stream for me to get into that. But yes, we want to now force insurance companies to cover a procedure, that's right, that doesn't fix infertility, that actually promotes women staying in the workforce a lot longer. And that's the one side, and the disastrous effects that it has on the fact that it only works 33% of the time, the amount of babies that are quote unquote created and killed as a result of this, the fact that this will have an unintended consequence of giving more same-sex couples, more mentally deranged couples, the ability to child traffic their babies that they think they deserve, that they have. This is just bad Trump all over the place. All over the place. Those are among sweeping potential policy changes under discussion at the White House. Where are all the blanking Catholics in this administration? Where's Rubio? Where's Vance? Where's the little blonde press secretary chick? Where are all these people? Okay? Where are you, Jack Posebic? Where are you, any of these people? You know why? Because they're too busy talking about Joe Biden. They're too busy talking about Joe Biden today. Joe Biden versus this story pales in comparison in this. And you're right. It's all, oh, look how great, Pope Leo said something bad, so we don't like Pope Leo anymore, but Trump good base, and this is I'm sorry, this is bad Trump. This is very bad Trump. And I know what Trump is thinking behind this. We got to get more babies. We got to get more babies any way, shape, or form. We got to pop the population up. We got to no, not this way. And by the way, somebody was nice enough on my ex page, my ex, to drop in the Catholic teaching on IVF. I'll, if you need it, I can send it to you if you are Catholic and you do not realize that it is a bad call, and you as a Catholic cannot support IVF treatment. Well, I really wanted kids, Rick. If you really want kids, adopt. Okay? It's God's providence whether you have kids or not. Do not play God, and do not think science is going to fix this. I want you guys, and I know this may be once again, this may be a jerky thing. I want you to follow your favorite your other favorite Catholic podcaster besides me. I want you to follow your favorite podcaster for the next. I will give Walsh, Michael Knowles, Jack Posebic, Mike Church. I will give any of them 5 days to mention this. I will give you a grace period to come out and condemn this in the next 5 days. You won't. Most of you won't. Most of you don't even know the story existed. And some of you, and I'll call out Jack Posebic, because the first time this happened, he danced like he was Marty McFly in Back to the Future 3 around this. Okay? Matt Walsh and Michael Knowles, they made statements eventually. So I get it. Posebic ain't said nothing. Where are you, my Catholic podcasters, my Catholic news guys? Where are you in this fight? You must come out and you must condemn the Trump administration and say you cannot push this Trump, especially if you have any kind of say in the administration, like somebody like Pope Civic, who they, supposedly has people ears, right? You have to speak out. You cannot force, we shouldn't be I thought we were against the Affordable Care Act. I thought we were against forcing insurance companies to cover people, right? I thought we were the Mo Republicans and we weren't about that. But now it's okay because Trump's in office. Now we want to force insurance companies to cover IVF. Are you out of your blanking mind? And none of you will say anything? Like I said, I'm not saying anything right now. People in the chat, people on Getter, people on Rumble, hold me accountable. If any of the people I mentioned say anything and call Trump out, I'll say good job, great job, way to get in the fight. Let me know. Do any of these people even mention it on their shows? Or will they talk about Joe Biden and the Ukraine war for the next 5 days? Or will this not even be mentioned? Steve and I will talk about it on News from the Pew on Thursday. You bet we're going to talk about it. Who else will? Who else will? And this is why they don't like me. Because my personality, Rick, you gotta be quiet about it. You gotta do social media better, Rick. You can't be going out pushing the stuff on guys, Rick. You know what? I don't care. We're talking about the lives of babies here. Where's Leela Rose? Where are any of these people? Any of them? We need you to choose. And I know it's not. And I hope I am wrong. I pray I'm wrong. I hope I come on here for the next 4 days and eat crow every single day. I hope I do. I don't think I'm gonna. I don't think I'm going to. And maybe we'll miss it. And if somebody says, hey, he actually talked about that on Monday or Tuesday. He said it was a bad thing. Great. I would be happy that we at least acknowledge it. But we're not even talking about this thing, guys. I guess it's more important we talk about, whatever other stupid thing that we need to talk about. We need to talk about the GDP or tariffs or something else. Nobody is going to talk about this, guys. Nobody. From the New York Times. And I'll give it. Professor Michael Edward Fesser, the self-described most pro-life president ever and purported cutter of government waste, may soon introduce a massive entitlement to IVF, a process which destroys more embryos than abortion. Where is everyone else? Where are you, my cat? This professor did it. Everybody's too busy talking about Pope Leo and the fact he said senility. That's the major issue for them, guys. Sorry, this is if you want to know why Rick doesn't get invited on other shows or go on any of this other kind of stuff, it's because I will sit here and I will demand that the people in the space that believe in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and the Catholic Church that he founded, this is a principle of the faith. You want to shout out all of these other things and you want to say about Catholic this and Catholic that, but when it's time to speak up and defend a Catholic principle, if it even goes against the Orange Man, if it goes against, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, y'all fall silent. You all are silent on it. Okay. I won't be. And guess what? And if this goes through, you bet your sweet bottom I will mention it every single time. And just if they don't mention it, ask them why they haven't. If you follow any of those shows. Hey, why haven't you mentioned the massive IVF entitlement that Donald Trump is most likely going to push? Just ask them. Ask them. Are you an American Catholic or are you a Catholic American? That's the thing. It matters the order. It matters how you introduce yourself. Well, I'm an American Catholic. Okay, so America is more important than your faith. No, you're a Catholic American. I got you. Making friends everywhere I go here on RickCast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Only person to talk. Not a problem. No, we're here. I will continue to talk about it as well. And I don't mind doing that. So let's see here. One more I got a bunch of small stories before I get to the big stuff. Last one before I believe we get into Joe Biden, because everybody wants to talk about Joe Biden. SCOTUS came down and said Trump can now revoke protection status of 350,000 migrants. So this is good. Now there's no protection for these migrants. There's none. Get them out. They're Venezuelans. They had temporary protection status. Temporary protection status is a pretty much opinionated thing that the Biden regime, and that's what we can call it, that the Biden tyranny, the tyranny of the Bidens did to just push more immigrants on the communities under temporary protection status. If they don't have it, they can go. Put them all on a plane, put them on the biggest stinking plane, put them on 2 C-130s and get them out. Bye. See ya. Their due process is gone. Their due process is over. See ya. Bye-bye. Rick, that's cold-hearted. They were brought into here in the fall. I don't know what to tell you. See ya. Bye-bye. It is what it is. Go back. All right, let's get to our first story. Everybody obviously wants to talk about this because this, I get it. I get it. It is a big deal. But for Catholics, it's not as big of a deal as the IVS story. Politically, this is the biggest story of the day. So let's get to it.
Breaking news.
Former President Joe Biden has just announced that he has been diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer. Let's get straight to the White House and senior reporter Betsy Klein with more on this. Betsy.
Yeah, Frederica, the White House, the office of former President Joe Biden issuing a statement just moments ago that the former president has been diagnosed on Friday with what they described as an aggressive form of prostate cancer that has spread to his bones. I want to read you this statement again from Biden's personal office. It says, last week, President Joe Biden was seen for a new finding of a prostate nodule after experiencing increasing urinary symptoms. On Friday, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer, characterized by a Gleason score of 9 with metastasis to the bone. While this represents a more aggressive form of the disease, the cancer appears to be hormone sensitive, which allows for effective management. The statement goes on to say that Biden and his family are reviewing treatment options with his physicians. Of course, President Biden is 82 years old, and of course, there has been so much scrutiny around the former president's health and his mental acuity and fitness for a second term in office. That is the subject, of course, of a new book from our colleague Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson, as well as something that was really underscored by the release of the Her tapes earlier this week. So again, we've asked the White House for comment on this development. We will bring more details to you as soon as we have them. But again, former President Biden diagnosed with aggressive prostate cancer that has spread to his bones. Frederica.
All right, so they just mentioned the Her tapes. Those are from Axios. This was done while Biden was in office, while Biden was running again. Take a listen.
Living in Chambers Road, and there were documents.
Listen to the way Biden cannot put a sentence together.
Cancer shot, or your book. Where did you keep papers that related to those things that you were actively working on?
Well, I don't know. This is what, 2017, 18, that area?
Yes, sir.
Remember, in this time frame, my son is either been deployed or is dying. And so it was, and by the way, there were still a lot of people at the time when I got out of the Senate that were encouraging me to run in this period, except the president. It's not a mean thing to say. I mean, he just thought that she had a better shot of winning the presidency than I did. And so I hadn't at this point, even though I'm at Penn, I hadn't walked away from the idea that I might run for office again. If I ran again, I'd be running for president. And so what was happening though, what month did Bo die? May 30th, 2015. Was it 2015 he died?
2015.
I think it's 2015.
I'm not sure the months are, but I think that was.
Yeah.
That's right, Mr. President.
And what's happened in the meantime is that Trump gets elected in November of 2017? 2016. All right. So.
You get it. The guy he was not all there. This was during the 2024, the last re-election. And Lou brings up, there's no way it was just diagnosed. Well, News Nation had everybody's had doctors on today. Here's what News Nation had to say.
A medically neglected population, it would be surprising to have a surprise diagnosis with a Gleason score of 9. So you're saying that certainly as he was serving in the Oval Office, you believe that he knew that he had prostate cancer, and even potentially as he was running in 2020 before he assumed office?
Well, most likely he had prostate cancer for a long time, and aggressive prostate cancer such as this at age 80 grows over a long period of time. I mean, usually it takes from the first diagnosis of prostate cancer to spread would take 5 to 10 years, even in the most aggressive form. It's just, to me, it seems very surprising that the first diagnosis would be a metastatic diagnosis, especially Gleason 9 cancer, without, having his PSA history. I mean, I would like him to get to release the PSA history right now to see what it was.
Yeah, they're asking the White House doctor for 4 years. Joe Biden is a picture of health. Joe Biden's a picture of health. He is 100%. He is 100% picture of health, man. Don't you worry about him. And it's nobody has really drilled this down to the real villain of this story. And that is the one and only Jezebel Joe Biden. She is evil. She is evil. She knew her husband had prostate cancer. Where do you think he was in Delaware every weekend? Getting treatment? Probably, possibly. Because we all knew this. We knew he had dementia, but we didn't know that something else was impacting his health. The guy had dementia and he had prostate cancer, and his wife still forced him back out onto the campaign trail in the 2024 cycle because she was so desperate to stay in power. She was using her husband and his dead corpse, his skin suit, essentially, to do what? To keep her spoiled, entitled self in the White House. She fought his resignation during the election season. And I think, I just called him out a couple minutes ago, but I will say, I think Matt Walsh has the best breakdown of this. The most cynical thing we've ever seen in American politics. It's astounding, truly. Biden has stage 4 cancer. There's no way on God's green earth they just caught it now. They knew it probably for years, probably in 2020 when he ran, in the primary season and everything, and lied to the American people. He's a picture of health. What are you guys talking about? It's the sharpest Biden we've ever seen. What are you guys talking about? I think it's a stutter, guys. We don't know what you're talking about. That time they had to fly back on Air Force One from Vegas, almost testing the limits of Air Force One. Y'all remember that story? Yeah. All these things were swept under the rug by complacent media that all wanted power. They wanted to wait till 2 days before a book came out about the cover-up of his mental decline so they could change the subject and quiet all the criticism in the name of compassion. That's what the left is saying now. That's what the left is saying. Oh, come on, guys. You got to show compassion to Joe Biden. Now, as an aside, as a Catholic, we should all be praying. We should all be praying. Really? Yeah, Mike's in Vegas. He died there? They had to resuscitate him? That's incredible. We knew that they evac'd him from Vegas and they flew Air Force One at such a speed had never been seen before to get him back there. That's incredible. That's the first time I've heard of it. I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked in any way, shape, or form. And yeah, who was it? The plan was to drag him over the finish line. I think that's what Wolf says again. So if you think an 80-year-old man goes from a clean bill of health to stage 4 cancer in the span of 6 months, then you're too dumb to be taken seriously. You have blank for brains to take any of this at face value, especially from the people who have a long track record of lying about your health. The most interesting question is whether they were secretly treating the cancer all the time, or if they decided not to treat it and let it kill him because the only way to keep it hidden until after his reelection. And Crotchy Elder says it. The plan was to drag that carcass across the line in 2024, have him mysteriously disappear around this, around this time, and then say, well, we have President Kamala Harris, Air Force One, leaving Vegas, speed, Joe Biden. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I'm just trying to put in the keywords to get it. No. Well, this is very interesting. Talk about a complacent media. Look at this story. You didn't hear about it, my friend, because they pushed it. Why do people think Joe Biden died in Las Vegas? This was from July 23rd, 2024. Joe Biden didn't die, nor was medevaced from Las Vegas last week after Biden was diagnosed with COVID-19. Remember, he had COVID-19 for a while. Let's see. So the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department was notified Joe Biden was sick on July 7th during his trip to Las Vegas. And all this other kind of stuff. There was something about the fact, I know Laura Loomer covered it, and I should have looked that up, but yeah, there were rumors going around that he actually died in Vegas at that time. I didn't know that it was actually confirmed. Not shocked, but that's what it is. The reason they're not burying the story is because the book's coming out about the dementia from Jake Tappa And they're trying to say, oh, no. They're trying to run cover for the fact that the media was complicit in a story about they all knew he had dementia. People in the cabinet knew he had dementia. Kamala Harris knew he had dementia, and they just let him stumble around. They cleared yeah, that doesn't shock me. Yeah. This is one of those things that is just, it is a major cover up because they did steal that 2020 election. They did. I don't know what I'm doing there. I just kind of, they did steal that 2020 election. And they did it to get him across the line and then have Kamala Harris get installed because, well, she would have had 3 years on the runway. It's unbelievable. And, you know, everybody else has had doctors on all day. Every doctor's like, yeah, I could have told you you can't get stage 4 cancer in 6 months, especially prostate. Prostate's one of the easiest ones to find, especially because it's so slow moving. And that's the thing that's just absolutely blowing people away, is that you're going to come out now and use his cancer diagnosis to cover for a book that they're trying to run cover on, saying, oh, well, you know, we didn't know that he had dementia. Everybody knew he had it. Everybody knew he had it. It's absolutely despicable that this is happening. And the person that I blame is the one and only Dr. Jill Biden with her PhD, letting her husband, boys, that's why the most important decision you can ever make is who you're going to marry. Because when it comes to the end of the life, they're the one who's going to be, if they're healthier than you, they're the one who's going to be taking care of you. And she showed no regard for his health. All she wanted was power. And all she wanted was to stay in the White House as long as possible. So it's a sad thing. And the reaction from the left is, you guys can't say anything bad about Joe Biden now because he has cancer. You can't say anything bad. Stop it. You stop it. No negative things about Joe Biden are allowed now. None. While the right, especially those who were tyrannized or who suffered under Joe Biden, you can count COVID, the lockdowns, or the J6ers who were imprisoned under Joe Biden, really are, I don't want to say celebrating, but they are showing no sympathy. And I understand that. I understand the fact that you're like, good, let it happen. I don't care. I just implore all my fellow Catholics that he receives the graces necessary for a holy death and a blessed eternity. And if I need to remind you, if I have to remind you guys, and I don't have to remind anybody in this audience, that it is your duty as a Catholic to pray for your enemies, then you're in bad shape if I have to remind you of that. We must pray for our enemies, and we must hope that Joe Biden, repents and has the grace of final perseverance. I pray for that. I'm 43 and I pray for that every night. I pray for the grace of final perseverance every night. I hope Joe, I hope he gets the spiritual care he needs. Because, when you're on these things, you have to get, I guess, personal. My mom had ovarian cancer. She beat it. And then it came back and it was super aggressive and all the treatments failed. And she went on hospice. And I only tell you because it was one of the most brave acts I've ever seen in my life, is the fact that my mom, the doctors are like, there's nothing more we can do for you. We can do some experimental stuff. And she said, put me on hospice. She went home. She had a priest visit her every week. She set up everything. She got ready. And I think that's the way, I've already told my wife, if I'm ever in a situation like that, just put me on hospice and get me ready for what matters, which is judgment, right? physically, Joe Biden's been a wreck for 10 years. Joe Biden has not been the man he has been for 10 years. Let's just call it since he ran in 2016. Or no, yeah, since he ran in 2020, right? 2018. So 8, 9, 10. He wasn't like that beforehand, too. Let's say 2017, 2018, he started to have it. He hasn't been there. So medically, yeah, make him comfortable, but get him a priest. Get him a good priest. And it's going to be hard with a guy with dementia. I don't know how a priest approaches this situation with a man with dementia. How can you give somebody final perseverance, final graces if they can't recall the sins they've given? Like, I don't know. I would love to talk to a priest about that. That's got to be a heck of a situation for one. But people, I think Trump, he was notified about it today, and Trump was nice enough. I don't know if I have that audio or not. No, I didn't. He's like, hope he feels better. We pray for a recovery. Listen, man, kind of like with Pope Francis, people are like, oh, let's pray for a recovery. But those who have ever been around end of life scenarios or end of life situations, you can see the writing on the wall, and you understand, like, all right, we need to make the correct arrangements, which is spiritually. We need to make sure you are spiritually ready for this. The political side, is it treasonous? Yes. Are any of those guys who participated in this, from the administration to the reporters, are they ever going to see anything from this? No, because they're too entrenched. So that's why the people who are freaking out about all of this stuff, it's gone, dude. It's done. It's done. The only thing that we can do now is pray and hope that he has the grace of final perseverance. I'll say it one more time. But it's a sad situation. I mean, it really is just the final kick in the dirt for Joe Biden, just to be used. He's always been used. Now, has he been he hasn't been a great guy, right? And a lot of people are like, couldn't happen to a better guy. But he was used by his wife. He was used by the Democratic Party. Now he's being used for money for reporters, and his wife is going to get a little bit more out of this, and she's going to get all the attention at the state funeral. Somebody on X said she's probably going to run for a Senate seat from Delaware. Wouldn't shock me as a widow running on the Biden name. I wouldn't be shocked about any of that. But it really is just such a sad situation in these end of life scenarios, and how people don't plan accordingly for them. All right, this is RickCast. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. I missed one more warm-up. That's a great point, G. Yeah. I was able to go to adoration on Friday. First time in a while. I need to take advantage of that more. But yeah, as Catholics, we kind of, yeah, I'll get it. And don't do that. Don't do that. You need to be on top of that stuff. All right, here's one more hot take. I told you it's going to be a little bit longer show. I still got 2 stories left. I still haven't talked about Pope Leo yet, the 14th. But boy, oh boy, Con Inc. is not doing well today. Con Inc. is not doing well today. Check this out.
Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide. People don't believe it.
Well, I mean, listen, they have a right to their opinion, but as someone who has worked as a public defender, as a prosecutor, who's been in that prison system, who's been in the Metropolitan Detention Center, who's been in segregated housing, you know a suicide when you see one, and that's what that was.
He killed himself. You want me to get, I've seen the whole file. He killed himself.
I know it's hard work.
Oh, well. Cash is going to get him, guys. Cash is going to get him. We're going to see the files. Dan Bongino's going to get him, guys. Dan Bongino's going to get him, guys. Man, Glenn Beck crying on X about all this stuff. I don't know what y'all expected. I don't know what y'all. Oh, I trust Dan and I trust Cash. Maybe they're the best men on the planet. No way on God's green earth they're gonna release any of that stuff. Yeah, you know what? They've seen the file, and it says if you release any of this stuff, you're gonna find yourself in one of those cells, and it's gonna happen to you too. Boy, it's got to be sad when you're like, Cash is gonna fix it. Dan Bongino's gonna go in. Notice nobody on Rumble has said a word about this. I mean, Dan Bongino, helped create Rumble. So nobody on that site's going to say a word besides me, which is why the show's probably getting just buried on Rumble right now, which is fine. I'm not saying they're doing it intentionally, but I don't think they're going to allow negative things to be said about Dan Bongino. Sorry, man. I don't even blame Bongino and Cash for it. I don't even blame them. But you got to understand, this was happening. This was going to happen. And they came right out and said it. Yep, he did it. Sorry, guys. I've seen the file. You think you couldn't have gotten that from anybody else? Sad. All right. Next story. We'll go through this one real quick. From CNA, Catholic News Agency, Trump says the Vatican may host the imminent Russia ceasefire talks. President Donald Trump said Monday that following a 2-hour phone call with Russian President Vladimir Putin, Russia and Ukraine will immediately begin ceasefire negotiations, with the Vatican possibly hosting the talks. That's a pretty cool story. I'd like to see that. There's really nothing else on top of that. So I mean, it is what it is in that regard. For it. Let's see, what else do we got? All right, I gotta go help something out of the front. Can you guys give me about like 5 minutes? I gotta go take care of something. I will be right back. RickCast will begin momentarily. All right, everything's taken care of. Sorry about that, guys. Had to go take care of that. Just stuff, people get home or it's all right. Anyway. All right, where were we? Let's see. I had a coffee talk. I'll be right back, guys. I gotta go. I had to go help wife get home. Just making sure everything's good with that. She had to drive all the way up to she was all the way out there. So anyway, great to be back, guys. Sorry about that. We are good. We are ready to go. Let's get to our next story of the day. Here we are. So I really wanted to get to this. I mean, there's really not much else to talk. Trump said, hey, we have had a 2-hour talk with Putin, and we're going to start another round of Ukrainian-Russian ceasefire talks, and they may happen at the Vatican. That's awesome. That's really awesome if that happens, because the Vatican came out earlier. Pope Leo said, hey, the Vatican is available as a place for people to meet, and that would be great as well. So not much else to go in on that. All right, let's get to our next story of the day. It was a great weekend for us Catholics. I guess we'll throw on the warning, It is time for Rick Barrett's designated Pope Leo defense segment here on RickCast. So let's get to it. So this weekend, the Pope had his official inaugural mass, and people get kind of weirded out there when he becomes the Pope. When he says yes, that's correct. When May 8th. When he won the conclave and they asked him, and he became the Pope. But there's a process of an inaugural mass where he gets his fisherman ring. It's a ring with the fisherman on it, and then it's got his coat of arms underneath it. He officially takes possession of the 4 major basilicas: St. Mary Major, St. Peter's Basilica, St. Paul outside the wall, in St. John Lateran. And ironically enough, if you didn't know, St. John Lateran is the actual official cathedral of Rome. If you go to Rome, the actual chair of the Bishop of Rome is located in St. John Lateran. So it's interesting. St. Peter's is actually not the official seat of the Bishop of Rome. St. John Lateran is. So he takes possession of all 4. You're right. It used to be a coronation. Where you get the papal tiara. Of course, Pope Paul VI gave that up, which was a terrible idea. But we're not here to talk about Pope Paul VI. We're here to talk about a really nice day where the Pope came in. He was officially installed. I know that word's not great, but that's where it is. And he began his reign on Sunday by reaching out to conservatives who felt orphaned under his predecessor, calling for unity, vowing to preserve Catholic Church's heritage and not rule like an autocrat. And I think people have to understand, and I'm stealing this, Anthony Stein. I'm pretty sure he'll never see this video, but I've been watching a bunch of his stuff. He's the guy I've been going to through all of this. I think he's very measured in his response. He said, if you guys were looking for an ultra conservative pope to wield the flaming sword and return the church to its status, barring a zombie apocalypse or something like that, you're not going to get that. Getting somebody like Pope Leo XIV is the best you're going to get. A modern, a moderate centrist pope who will we hope loosen the restrictions on the Latin Mass, and kind of just try to focus on the church and try to bring the church together. Unity was kind of a dog whistle for the conservatives. Cardinal Burke, Cardinal Sarah, all those guys were looking for to try and bring back a church that was fractured under Francis and his ways of being very my way or the highway. And that's a huge deal to have the current pope call his predecessor an autocrat, which is essentially what he's doing. And I think people are not looking at that kind of stuff. After his first ride in the Pope Mobile through an estimated crowd of 200,000 people, Leo was officially installed as Leo XIV. I don't like how people are calling him Leo. He's Leo XIV. Was officially installed as the 267th pontiff of the Roman Catholic Church. Well-wishers waved their flags and so forth. Now, in his sermon, read in fluent Italian, he said, as the leader of the world's 1.4 billion Roman Catholics, he'd like to continue Francis's legacy on social issues such as combating poverty and protecting the environment, which, once again, you're not going to get your super conservative Pope. He is a product of JP2 generation and these kinds of things. And so he'll be more even keeled. And I think that's why a lot of us are happy with Pope Leo XIV, because he is even keeled and he's a canon lawyer and he is very measured in what he says. Nothing comes off the cuff the way he does. He vowed to face up to the questions, concerns, and challenges in today's world. And in a nod to conservatives, he promised to preserve the rich heritage of the Christian faith, repeatedly calling for unity. And so it was a beautiful ceremony. I wish I had so many videos. We can get a couple of these up. Because I'm trying to like download all of them and all these other kinds of things. There was some really amazing moments from his inaugural mass, his installation mass, because it was very moving to see him take his ring, his fisherman ring. Let's see, we can find it. So this is pretty cool for Catholics. So before the mass, this was the image of the papal Palladium and the fisherman's ring. The fisherman's ring's right here, which were placed on Pope Leo XIV during the mass for the inauguration of his pontificate. They are placed next to the tomb of the apostle St. Peter, a symbol of the apostolic continuity, maybe. I don't know. Let's see. Those are more. So this was the moment he received his fisherman ring. That's his fisherman ring. It's got pretty much, I think it's got St. Peter on it. And underneath it will have his coat of arms underneath. And so he took a moment to look at it, and right there, that is a look. That is a look that a lot of people get. Like somebody put on X. Yes, the line of succession. Thank you. That's the best way to put it. Somebody put on X, they quote tweeted this and they said, this is the moment when you realize this is your circus and now these are all of your monkeys. And everybody's like, well, I'm his silliest monkey, so hopefully it won't be too bad. But yeah, that's the look right there. That look got me too. And, there's a lot of talk about the previous pontiff being very humble. I'm not going to say these kinds of things, but you know where I'm going. That's a look of a man who really understands the burden and privilege that was just put upon him. And that's a pretty big deal. Like when Pope Ratzinger was Pope Benedict XVI, he got his and he started waving, which was pretty cool. Pope Francis got his and he just kept shaking the hand of the guy who gave it to him. And Pope Leo XIV just kind of looked at it. And there's the actual video of it where he gets the ring. He thanks Bishop Teague, I believe, Cardinal Teague, who gave it to him, and then he kind of just takes a moment, and then he just goes, "Well, okay, okay." What am I getting myself? That's why they call the room where the Pope goes into the room of tears, because there are some popes who have been elected. And they just kind of go in that room and they break down. So this is what happened before he went out to the mass for Catholics. If you go to St. Peter's bones are underneath the basilica and they have his tomb there. So, and this is blocked off. You can't get to this now. If you go to St. Peter's, you can't have access to this. The Pope Leo XIV came down and they went to the tomb of St. Peter before the inauguration to show that continuity between the, St. Peter himself, who was given the task of building the church here on earth by our Lord and Savior, direct line down to Pope Leo XIV. Now, the vestment he wore was a nod to Pope Saint John Paul II. Would have been his 105th birthday today. So that's very interesting there. A lot of people don't like the staff, the staff that he chose. That's Pope John Paul II's staff. I understand why people don't like it, but I get it. And that's him riding around in the Pope Mobile beforehand. I will say this that he looks the part. You know, he looks the part. He absolutely looks the part. I am a huge fan of him as well. Right? This RickCast is a stan account for Pope Leo XIV. So beautiful ceremony that he went through. I don't know if I have any more pictures. No, that was it. So he went through it, and it was a really beautiful moment. He met with leaders of the world. Some of them. Interesting note. Let me see if I can find this. I know she got a lot of crap for this. Giorgia Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy. But Catholics will know Giorgia Meloni. I just half type it and see if it finds it. Nope. Okay. Now I just locked myself out because why not? There's something that happened. That if you're a Catholic, you'll understand exactly what happened here. Come on, it's like one of the. Okay. Yep, you come to RickCast because I am ready to roll in these situations. Let's see. Where is she? Because you actually see her do it. Of course, I think I just go back. No. Got to make me look foolish. Very interesting. This is the King and Queen of Spain. Most women veiled. Giorgia Meloni did not, which is why she's getting a lot of nonsense for it. You know, it happens. But I'm trying to show the one thing that I actually wanted to show here. Here it is. Thank you. But not the part I need to see. Here you go. Right there. We'll show it again. Right there. So for Catholics, it's a pretty big deal. It's a pretty big deal to did I even show it? No, I didn't. Yeah. Well, guys, I'm on fire today. Let's see. So let's see. I'll show it to you again. Now, of course, she's not veiling, which is terrible. She's not veiling. That's awful. But he is, how do I say this? He understands his office, meaning he does not slap people away for Catholics, when you meet a bishop, a priest, if you meet a priest, it used to be customary to kiss the hands of the priest, their consecrated hands, all the way up, Your Excellency, and so forth. When you meet the Pope, you know, it's a heck of an opportunity to kiss the hands of the Pope. And Pope Leo XIV understands this. He at least understands his office. And he is not so quote unquote humble that he doesn't allow it to do. Now, Cesare, you're right. He didn't break out the tiara. We all wanted to see the papal tiara. You're not going to get that with Pope Leo. Unfortunately, once Pope Paul VI gave it up, which was one of the biggest mistakes, two huge mistakes, the giving up of the papal tiara and Ratzinger, Pope Benedict XVI retiring. Though, in my opinion, those are massive mistakes that were made by papacies. But yeah, I'm telling you, she didn't do it right, but she at least kissed the knee. She kissed the ring. She understood that. You bend on the left knee, you kiss the ring. And why do we do that? I know you guys are like, idolatry. We're not doing that. We as Catholics, we do this because we understand the person in front of us is the vicar of Christ, right? He is the leader of the church. He is the office of St. Peter. And it's a huge deal if you have that opportunity. So that was a pretty big deal in that part, that She did it. A lot of other world leaders did it. A lot of other world leaders, I think the leader of Poland did it correctly. And he was able to kiss the ring correctly. And there was a lot of others that did that the right way. Unfortunately, that was just one of them. Nope. All right. There was a lot of, now, of course, who was it? What some of you guys will actually know. President Duda. Where is he? Is he the president of Poland? President Duda? Let me see if I can find him. Why not? We're already way over time today, so. Okay. Let's see. So let's see if you see it right. Kiss. There you go, Cesare. There's the correct form. You come in, you bend the knee, you kiss the ring, and that's how you show proper reverence to the Holy Father. Right? Done correctly. And the big deal is that Pope Leo is not so humble that he's like, oh, don't do that. No, he understands that that's proper procedure. So that was the good part. The part that kind of got everybody a little scared was this today. Michael Haynes came out from his speech today. Now, to be fair, this is a cutout of the actual speech. I've read the entire speech. It's not as scary as it actually looks. But he says, moreover, that synodality and ecumenicalism are closely linked. I would like to assure you of my intentions to continue Pope Francis's commitment to promoting the synodal nature of the Catholic Church and developing a new and concrete form of ever stronger synodality in ecumenical relations. Once again, this is a Pope Leo XIV defense account, so let me defend the Holy Father right here. Yes, did he mention synodality? He did. And I know for everybody, it was like, game over, we're done. He mentioned it. We're cooked. We're cooked. But you have to understand that he doesn't have his people in place. He's brand new. He's trying to make all sides happy because that's his thing. He wants unity. And so he's not going to come in and try to, do all these things that we would like to see. But he has not defined what synodality means. Right? He has, and I know some of you guys would be like, Rick, that's a weak excuse. It's the best explanation I can get. It does take time for a new pope to get his people in place. We don't know his definition of the word. And shout out to Joe Enders, who sent me this link that his idea of synodality is he supported the African bishops' wholesale refusal to implement fiduciary supplica, which was like the whole blessing of same-sex marriages or whatever the case may be, saying each Episcopal conference needs to have a certain authority in terms of saying, how are we going to understand this in a concrete reality in which we're living? So just because he says synodality, is it bad? Yes, we'd like it to go away, but it may be just reaching out to everybody and having voices be heard. That's it. We don't know for certain what his synodality definition will be. So that's my defense of it. And that's what a lot of other people are kind of saying as well. Like, hey, don't freak out too much right now, simply because he's kind of just putting out the, the proper things to kind of let people know. Why hasn't he cleaned up the problems? People are so impatient, right? In a fast food throwaway culture. Let the guy be there. Let the guy be there. Now, guys, if he does what Francis did, I will be the first one to come up here and say, mea culpa, mea maxa culpa. But I hope and I pray that he doesn't. And it doesn't seem like that's going to be a priority of his. I would like to say, look at his actions. What do I mean? Check out this action. Maybe, I'm sure you guys know, but for those of you who don't, he was in office a day and he removed somebody who was a Franciscan knight. And this guy, Rena, who was named as his replacement, if you know anything about the guy, he actually was accused in the seminary of trying to make one of his quote unquote Father James Martin guys. He tried to convince him to go through conversion therapy. he tried to get a fellow seminarian who had the Father James Martin lifestyle. He's like, yeah, you need conversion therapy. So are we going to freak out what he said? Are we happy with the moves he's going to make? That's a solid first move. So as of right now, no Francis derangement syndrome allowed. The senality thing perked people up, but at the same time, it's just, well, I want to continue it. I want to continue it in my own way. And he's got, hopefully viva Pope Francis, viva Pope Leo XIV. And may he have many years to shape the church in a unified way that allows, he's reaching out to the Eastern Orthodox. He reached out to is it the Bishop of Constantinople, to meet with them. So I like what he's doing, but there's some people that just went, senality, we're done. It's terrible. I can't believe it's all. Some other people agreed with me. Except Leo is the one defining senality. Now, of course, Austin Ivering, who is a Pope Francis historian, he jumped on this. He's like, oh, see, he's going to continue it. See. And everybody's like, well, he's defining it. And since he's a canonist, one very much doubts he's going to continue it's going to look anything like the nebulous, vacious Liberty hobby horse blob that it's been so far. He is a canon lawyer. He is he is a canon lawyer. He's very measured in what he does. So we'll see. So that's the latest update on Pope Leo XIV. I'd love to see communion in the hand go away. I'd love to see communion in the hand go away immediately. But that's just a evil trad like me thinking that. All right, last story of the day. Some of y'all were waiting for it. Actors Union sues Fortnite over AI Darth Vader. So Fortnite's a stupid video game people play, and they dropped in an AI version, not like a call and response. You know how if you ever play video games, there's always the computer programs, they'll give you like 4 canned answers. No. This is actually an AI Darth Vader that you can talk to. And of course, the internet being the internet, it got Darth Vader to say some pretty spicy things. But it's also freaking the Actors Union out because they don't like this. Actors Union is suing the makers of Fortnite over the use of AI to create an interactive Darth Vader. Fortnite announced last week it got permission from the family of James Earl Jones, who made the decision to do AI Darth Vader. He actually gave permission to Disney to do so. They said, go ahead and do it. It's fine. I don't care. We're good. To make a chatty Star Wars villain based on the late actor's voice, work in the Smash space opera series. Using AI models, developer Eric Games introduced the Emperor's Consigliere into Battle Royale, a player versus player version of Fortnite. Users were quick to adopt the Sith Lord on their missions, posting clips of the interactions. Many delighted in the character's apparent wit, laughing as he tells them of their poor technique. He even gave his McDonald's fast food order. So, good for him. It's better he eats the spicy chicken sandwich. The Empire has no order for fast food. And then he said, if I was forced to endure it, I would take the chicken select meal. Okay. But the actors under the SAG-AFTRA were not amused, claiming the use of AI in video games puts performers out of work. Guess what, homies? At SAG-AFTRA, your time is up. You guys got about 5 good years left. Get as much money as you can because AI is going to get you guys out of a job. And this is just the first penny. And SAG-AFTRA has zero ground to stand on because it's James Earl Jones' voice. And James Earl Jones said, you can do it. You have my permission to do it. Go ahead and do it. And we're going to see this. The problem is when they start doing AI chatbots of Elvis or of, I don't know, pick your favorite app, John Wayne, or people, ones that couldn't give their consent. Most likely they'll have to go through the family, but still, there's a lot to take in with the fact that this is potentially the beginning of the end for actors. And yes, Darth Vader was made to say some pretty spicy things about race relations, but it's the internet, so I don't know why anybody's shocked at that. But we'll see if that lawsuit goes forward. But in the end, they got nothing. And I think the common phrase is they're dead, they just don't know it yet. And I think they do know it, and that's why they're trying to sue to get this from happening. All right, folks, that's it for this episode of RickCast. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. Thank you for hanging out with me with that interruption. Hopefully that won't happen tomorrow. I appreciate all of you, as always, for hanging out with me. God bless. And until that day comes, free Dexter Taylor.